Hey guys, Philosopher here, and today we're gonna talk about Lady Deathstrike, give you my first impressions of this character. Obviously, we don't know her stats yet, and that's gonna be an important piece of this. Whenever you're dealing with a damaged character, a big question is, well, how much damage does she do, right? We don't know that for sure, but I think we can learn a lot from her kit, and what I find the most interesting about her kit is not really the character itself, but what it reveals to us about what this team is all about. And so here's what I'll just say here in terms of initial impressions. So first of all, she's a villain global tech brawler, obviously on the Weapon X team. So we now have a tech member on the team. But here's the thing. I still recommend focusing a lot on farming mutant gear because Omega Red's a mutant. I assume most of you don't have a maxed out Wolverine and maxed out Sabretooth. Those characters are part of the team. So you have 3 mutants and 1 tech, right, so far. Even if the last one's a tech, I don't see this as a tech rating team based on the kit as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if the last one's a mutant. We don't know yet, right, mutant or tech. But the point is, this is interesting. It just means to me they don't intend for you to use these new characters together. Omega Red's going to be in one lane. Lady Deathstrike's going to be in another lane. It remains to be seen as far as the last character. Will that character pair up with Omega Red or Lady Deathstrike? But it's not going to be a trio like some people were speculating. There's a lot of speculation about this team. And the speculation that they were going to be at the rating solution, I don't see it. Not just from this, but also from the kit itself. Let's go right to that kit, okay? So if you look here, notice the war bonuses. Another thing I will just tell you is when you look at the Omega Red kit and you look at this character's kit, they scream war offense team really to me. Now they're coded, or at least it's supposed to be. Who knows with Scopel next whether they'll get it right. But this is intended to be a team that you can use on either war offense or war defense, just like Sinister Six. And that's really what this team reminds me of. Or it reminds me of, Omega Red reminds me of like Doc Ock 2.0. And, essentially that's what they're trying to do. But it really seems more applicable to war offense. But I just don't see the sustain so far. Maybe that's going to come. But I don't see it. It really looks more like a war team to me. Maybe, you can always use a team like this on one node or something, which we used to do that in the past. People would use Black Order or Uncanny X-Men or something on a node, but, trying to use them down an entire lane is probably not going to work for you. What I will say in terms of what we see with this kit, though, is a very powerful character. And this, of the 2 characters we've seen so far, and really, also, we know a little bit about the Sabretooth and Wolverine reworks based on what Cerebro said publicly. I really think this is the one character who may see some use in raids because she has some healing on her turn. That's nice. She's also, for example, going to, when she drops those 60% health, she's going to get Death Proof and Evade. I just think that's going to give her some ability to keep herself up. And the other thing but the most important thing, of course, is that this is a tech character. And we all know that unlike Mutant, where there's already a very, established rating solution, there isn't in tech, right? So most people are using, Doom and Kestrel, I think, or a lot of people are. And those 2 characters more or less carry you. Doc Ock's pretty good, but then the 4th and 5th characters are like, eh. I know some people use Nebula. On the boss node, sometimes I use Misty Knight. I still like using Shuri, but a lot of people in my alliance have moved away from her. A lot of people like to use Minerva, although in the final node with Black Bolt, her revive can be of limited use since there's so many Black Bolts floating around. Ghost and Ultron and Falcon can be options. The one issue with Ghost and Ultron is that they're both villain tech, and just Black Bolt eats them alive, unfortunately, because Black Bolt does extra damage to villain tech, and there's so many Black Bolts in that lane. So on that final node, which is the hard node, the mini boss node. So I think that, it doesn't take much to have a fifth character have some value. I mean, the reason I even consider bringing in a character like Misty Knight, she's got an ability block. It's something. Or Nebula, she's got some damage, whatever. She can keep herself alive a little better than some of these other choices, has more health. These are not amazing choices. So making the bar in tech is pretty low. This character has some sustain. The issue, of course, is she's also villain tech, but it is what it is, right? You can't have everything. I would expect that since this is a new character, unlike a character like, Ghost or Ultron or whatever, she's going to have better stats and would presumably, with the death proof and evade and so on, at least in, on turn heal, at least be able to keep herself up a little bit, but definitely an issue. One thing that we also see here is this crit damage. What this really tells me, once again, it's another sign. We saw this, of course, with Omega Red and so forth, is just how crit focused this team is. This is really a team that seems to me like it could benefit from having some Raiders on it. Obviously, if you have extra crit damage, critting more often is a good thing, and that's what Raiders do. Then, there's some really interesting stuff here with Bleed. That's like a theme that runs through her kit, lowering resistance by 50% for all enemies with Bleed. And, you're going to see in this kit, she's throwing Bleed all over the place. And then these war bonuses, Focus, and Focus, quite a bit, giving Focus, and then 1,000% resistance against Bleed, which basically is going to totally nerf, for example, Colleen Wing. So, they're going to just eat, Heroes for Hire alive, most likely, if you didn't already, get that from the Omega Red kit. Let's look at her. Let's go up to her basic. The one thing that they say, all these abilities are at max levels. So the basic transfers a deflect from primary target to self. Obviously, it's also good against Heroes for Hire, but it's really just good in war in general because you're going to have a lot of deflects due to boosting. So I think that's a nice skill. Attack primary target for 250% piercing. Piercing damage is great because it ignores armor. If primary target has Bleed, repeat this attack and apply defense down. This is another reason why I think she may be a viable fourth or fifth character in Raid because the defense down has some synergy with Kestrel. But this is once again a thing where, hey, you want her to spread bleeds all over the place so that this way, she gets some benefit from that. But the piercing is, I'd say, a very nice aspect to this. Special turn 1. Gain offense up for 2 turns. Offense up means 50% more damage output. So that's very important buff. And what this means is she's going to have it for turn 1 and for her ultimate turn 2. So once again, also a character that seems like very lined up for a big first 2 turns rather than a character who's got a sort of sustainable kit. She's going to attack primary and adjacent targets for 200% piercing plus apply 2 bleed and reduce speed bar by 20%, which is awfully nice. The bleed means you're going to want to have a T4 in this ability to increase the multiplier on the bleed. Then on kill, you repeat the attack using a new primary target randomly chosen from the previous secondary target. This reminds me a lot of Yellow Jacket, where Yellow Jacket's got that ability where you attack 3 characters. If you kill one, you attack again. That means that you want to, potentially have her big so that you get those kills. And then on kill, increase the duration of positive effects on the whole Weapon X team. So far, it doesn't look like she's going to have many members of that team with her. It's just going to be herself so far, maybe one other. And then on turn 2, you're going to have the ultimate. Attack primary target for 280 piercing. Once again, that ignores armor, very helpful, and applies defense down. The synergy with a character like Kestrel, but defense down just an important debuff because it increases incoming damage by 50%. So that's very nice, and that's a +1 is nice because it adds an additional 1, and it applies 2 bleed. So she's really applying bleeds all over the place, and then this rebound chain to 4 adjacent targets is really nice, and applying defense down. So why is this so cool? Well, you got essentially attacking 5 characters, and the rebound chain means let's say there's just 2 characters there. Whether it's in a raid node where you just have 2 characters clumped up on one side, or there's just 2 characters left. She will keep going back and forth between those 2 characters. Back and forth, applying 2 bleed each time. And it can become ridiculous, right? So this is 10 bleed total going out from this attack because it's the primary plus 4 others. And there's each 2 bleeds. So she's putting out 10 bleeds. It could be 5 bleeds per character. And so she's a high damager. We don't know yet, but I would assume high damager. You know, that could be a hell of a lot of damage going out. But this is what makes you know that we're in late 2021. You know, this would have been a crazy, this alone would have been a crazy ultimate back a year ago. Like we would have been, if this was in an X-Force character, let's say back when X-Force was introduced a year ago, we'd be like, wow, this is very powerful. But now, on top of all that, she clears all negative effects from the team. She applies immunity to the entire team. If anybody's got bleed, and they probably, at least some of the characters will from the special in turn 1, the attack can't miss, and the attack can't be countered if she's on the team. So, wow, right? Very, very powerful. Lots of damage going out. So what do I expect from this character? I just think this tells us, the most important thing that this tells me is, this is a war team, not a raid team. You're not going to even be able to use the full team together. So they're not all mutants, because they could have made Lady Deathstrike a mutant. I mean, wasn't she in one of the movies a mutant at the very least? So they purposely didn't want to have the full team together. And her kit really screams war to me. War offense team. So this can be a great war offense team. This is the Doc Ock 2.0 kind of team. But because the tech options are so limited right now, that could change. Months from now, we don't know. But for right now, she very well could be your 4th or 5th choice for the tech nodes in Doom 2. More on that soon. More on how to prepare for Doom 2 coming soon to this channel. All right, guys, if you like this video, smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel. If you have comments or questions, post them below or go to my Discord. That's linked below as well. And you can also check out my Twitch stream. That's linked below as well. That's where I make all of these videos.